Welcome to the deep dive. We've synthesized a really dense collection of sources for you, articles, first-hand accounts, and research to give you the critical knowledge you need, but, without the filler.
And today we are setting our GPS for a deeply unexpected corner of the world.
We're going to Iraqi Kurdistan, specifically the mountainous frontier right near the Iranian border.
This is a truly unique deep dive. The sources we have, they chronicle a New Year's camping trip. And it starts as this ambitious adventure, but it pretty quickly morphs into a stark lesson in survival.
It really does. We're dealing with extreme geography, intense cold, and then this layer of unexpected historical tragedy.
And some surprisingly rich cultural details all rolled into one journey.
So our mission today is to unpack the key geographical movements, analyze the cultural resilience that you see on display, and I think most importantly, synthesize the ultimate takeaway.
Which is that profound contrast between breathtaking natural beauty and the sobering realities of history and weather.
Exactly. We're tracing the steps of a group who faced a major test of preparation when a legendary blizzard hit, forcing a really critical, life-saving decision.
So let's start that descent into the mountains. The journey kicks off in Slemani, or Sulemania, and then heads east.
And what's fascinating is how immediate the geographical shift is, right as they pass Darbandakan. It's like a gateway.
It's absolutely the gateway to the high country, and that shift is directly tied to the climate. The sources point out the Darbandakan Lake and Reservoir.
Yeah, and the water level was really high.
Unusually high, and that's because of heavy rainfall just before the trip. That detail might seem small, but it's not.
Okay, why is that so important?
Because that high water level signals saturation. The ground is already holding immense moisture. So as you gain altitude, that moisture translates directly into deeper snow and more ice. It's a subtle geographical clue that foreshadows just how intense things are about to get.
And the road itself is the next challenge. The sources describe this incredibly old, narrow, and very dark tunnel that's just carved straight through the mountain.
The traveler's account described it with this mix of awe and, a bit of trepidation.
Yeah, they said it felt dangerous and very old. What does a piece of infrastructure like that tell us about the region?
It just speaks to the ruggedness of the terrain. I mean, this isn't some modern multi-lane highway system. It's functional, it's crucial, but it's very old engineering. It signals that you're leaving smooth infrastructure behind and entering a landscape that demands more respect.
And that respect was needed immediately because the cold, it wasn't waiting for the snow to start.
No, not at all. We get one of the first truly shocking anecdotes right then.
I know the one you mean. The traveler just pokes a hand out of the vehicle window to take a short video.
And their hand froze instantly. That's not just cold. That's a dangerous temperature where exposure is an immediate threat.
It completely underscores why their preparation was bordering on obsessive. The sources mention one traveler specifically packing 12 layers of clothing.
12 layers. That isn't just being prepared. That's a mindset of deep respect, maybe even a healthy fear for what these specific winter conditions can deliver.
It's the difference between a camping trip and a survival challenge.
Right. So after that ascent, they arrive in Said Sadiq. It's a pretty significant border town, maybe 30 to 40,000 people, predominantly Kurdish, and it's already surrounded by these dramatic snow-capped mountains.
And the sources correctly identify the town as being named after its founder, Said Sadiq. But before they go any further, they need fuel.
For their bodies, yeah. And this brings us to a fascinating little cultural interlude. The local cuisine.
It gives such a wonderful insight into daily life here.
The details on the food prep are excellent. The group tried chicken kwas, that's the local term for shawarma.
But with this unique twist.
Exactly. Instead of the usual compressed meat cones you see, they use whole roasted chickens for the shavings. It suggests a much richer, more traditional preparation.
And they also tried kebda, which is liver wraps. But the detail I loved, the one that speaks volumes about local custom, was how they got the bread.
Oh yeah, the self-service system.
It's amazing. You don't buy wrapped bread from a shop. The custom is to go straight to the baker and literally grab the warm kebab, the flatbread, right from the oven yourself.
That level of informality and trust, it's surprising to a lot of Western sensibilities. It implies this really strong sense of community.
Right. And that feeling of warmth and normalcy makes the very next stop, the next transition in the journey, even more impactful.
It really does. They shift from the immediate pleasure of hot food and local community to a necessary and very profound historical reckoning.
Absolutely. The sources make it so clear that while the region's geography is just stunning.
I mean, the traveler compared the mountain vistas to Austria or Switzerland.
Right. But that beauty is just, it's juxtaposed against this devastating human history. They stopped at Halabja.
And Halabja is a non-negotiable stop if you want to understand modern Iraqi history. It was the site of the notorious chemical attack on March 16th, 1988.
Let's go over the specifics from the historical accounts, just to give this the gravity it deserves.
Well, the sources emphasize that the city was subjected to continuous aerial bombardment for several hours, and this wasn't conventional, it was a mix of chemical agents.
Nerve gas and mustard gas, specifically, designed for maximum casualty.
And the immediate toll was just staggering, over 5,000 people killed. Mostly women and children, caught completely unprepared.
But what the traveler saw and what we need to focus on is the continuing legacy.
Yes, the sources really underscore that. Even today, the effects linger. We're talking long-term illnesses, severe respiratory issues, and tragically elevated rates of birth defects and physical deformities that persist across generations.
It's the long tail of chemical warfare. The attack never really ends.
And even though the Halabja Museum was closed when they visited, the artifacts displayed outside still provided this incredibly visceral connection to the tragedy.
The monument was the most moving part for me. That powerful sculpture of a father shielding his daughter from the bombardment.
It just crystallizes the horror of that moment. They also saw the military hardware that was used.
Right. Preserved parts of a jet, unidentified by the traveler, but still. A large tank or armored vehicle, and remnants of artillery shells.
These aren't just historical objects. They're direct, tangible proof of the atrocity.
And the small pickup truck. That ordinary little truck is such a powerful artifact.
It's preserved because it appeared in the famous footage from the time. It was used by survivors and rescuers to transport the victims. It's a devastating witness.
And to bring it full circle, geographically, the sources mentioned that the gases weren't just confined to the Halabja Valley.
No, the air currents carried the toxic agents. They affected people in surrounding areas, including Said Sadiq, the very town where they had just enjoyed that warm kebda. It just underscores how interconnected this beautiful yet volatile landscape is.
That moment of reflection, recognizing the historical scars, it transitions us sharply back to the present-day physical challenge. Surviving the actual camping trip.
Right, the historical reflection had to end because the physical survival clock was ticking. They're setting up camp for New Year's Eve, knowing the temperature is predicted to hit at least minus 13 Celsius.
That demands specialized, almost professional preparations.
It does. Let's look at the thermal engineering they brought. It wasn't just about good sleeping bags. The group bought insulating foam, or fumie, to put directly under their tents.
And that wasn't a comfort item.
Absolutely not. The traveler was clear. Without that thermal barrier, the ground cold just seeps up through any conventional sleeping mat. The tent floor becomes an instant conductor of debilitating cold.
The cold from below is often more crippling than the cold from the air.
Exactly. And of course, they had their external gear-heavy layers and those distinctive Russian-style fur hats, chosen for function, not style.
Their camp was situated right next to the Klam River, which flows from the Panjwin region, very close to the Iranian border. So a water source.
A natural water source, which immediately became useless.
This is where preparation meets brutal reality. The cold was so intense that the water in the vehicle tanks and all the supply pipes froze solid. Running water was instantly gone.
And that creates a major survival hurdle. Suddenly you can't sanitize things easily, you can't hydrate easily. The group was forced to melt snow in pots over heaters just to wash dishes.
That one detail tells you everything. The environment was winning the battle against their logistics.
And despite all the effort, the 12 layers, the fumie, the cold was just too much for many in the group.
Yeah, a significant number of them found the tents unbearable. They retreated to the heated kitchen area or even rented local huts.
It just highlights the sheer intensity of that temperature. And yet, in the face of all that, they still had a New Year's Eve celebration.
It was almost a defiant act against the elements. They barbecued, they sang songs, they lit flares.
And some of those flares, maybe pushed by the mountain air, hit nearby trees and caused these small, sharp explosions. It was a boisterous celebration.
But the revelry was immediately followed by the crisis, the true test.
Right after the New Year's toasts, a powerful snowstorm hit. The sources described it as one of the strongest the region had seen in recent history.
How bad did it actually get?
The snow rapidly reached over a meter deep, right in their campsite. This was the critical moment.
And the decision was made to evacuate the main group immediately.
This is the biggest insight from the entire trip. Preparation got them there, but adaptability is what saved them.
They loaded the main party onto 3 buses and rushed them to a hotel further down the road.
And that prevented the entire group and their vehicles from being buried and trapped. It was an absolutely essential move. The support crew who stayed behind to pack up, they were trapped the next morning.
And they had to fight through that intense cold, struggle to start fires with wet wood, and deal with all that snow. Even their big Ram truck was heavily covered.
That timely evacuation was the difference between a rough story and a full-scale emergency.
So with the crisis averted, they spent the next morning battling the snow, packing up heavy wet gear, and beginning their descent. This brings us to their ultimate geographical point, Tawila.
Tawila, right on the borderline, the final marker. The traveler recounted this incredibly simple yet symbolic experience.
Just walking back and forth across a small stream.
A little trench that physically demarcates the boundary. And just repeating Iran, Iraq, Iran, Iraq. It brings home how arbitrary and physical these lines can be in the wilderness.
And right there, at this precise border crossing, they found this charming little cultural nugget.
A small, rustic, charcoal-fired tea house, Kawat Othman Harami, offering hot tea right on the edge of 2 nations.
It's like a symbol of a common human need for warmth that just transcends political lines.
And we get another wonderful cultural detail. The sources highlighted a 65-year-old local man wearing the Balarami Frenji.
Which is a traditional heavy garment made from sheepskin.
Right. It's a reminder that their extreme preparation is just the local daily wear, is what you need to survive this specific climate.
So leaving the high mountains, they head back toward the urban center of Somani and its market, Salim Street. And the focus shifts entirely back to the city's pulse, and happily, its food.
A fantastic final culinary exploration. They tried kuzi, a delicious lamb dish, and later some kunafa.
That sweet cheese pastry. Must have been such a sensory shock after camp food.
And according to the traveler, the ultimate culinary highlight was in the Sara area of the market, finding what they described as one of the best liver wraps kebda ever tasted.
It reinforces how much food is tied to the memory and experience of a place.
And nestled right in the middle of all this commerce, they discovered an old, impressive fort or historical building. It's a perfect encapsulation of Slimani history and trade, all interwoven.
But the journey wasn't quite over. There was a final 4x4 off-roading segment that just reinforced the sheer wildness of the region one last time.
The roads were steep, challenging, incredibly muddy. It took them through this deep forest landscape, completely different from the high-altitude snow.
And a final, chilling detail on the trail. They found a large animal skull, complete with teeth. Just a last reminder that this is a truly untamed, rugged environment.
So this deep dive has been a study in sharp contrasts. We began with this high enthusiasm and the stunning, almost Austria-like geography of Iraqi Kurdistan.
But we quickly moved into the profound historical tragedy of Halabja and the brutal, unforgiving reality of a high mountain winter.
The journey offers this vital insight into human resilience, both historically and in the immediate challenge of the cold.
And the key takeaway for any traveler or explorer seems to be this. Preparation is foundational, the 12 layers, the fumey, but knowing when to fold the tent and evacuate, that's what saved them.
That act of adaptability is what prevented them from being trapped by a meter of snow in one of the strongest blizzards in the region's history. And that leads us to our final provocative thought for you to mull over. If you were planning a trip to a beautiful but volatile environment like this, and you knew that your water sources could freeze solid and a meter of snow could fall overnight, what single piece of emergency equipment would you prioritize? But more importantly, what specific piece of local knowledge or cultural adaptation beyond any piece of gear becomes the most valuable currency for survival?